Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey and Literature. I'm your host, Captain Mike, and this is my hotel room where I've been for a couple of weeks. We're drinking some whiskey today, and we're going to talk about it. First of all, you know how it goes. I'm going to ramble for a little while. What we're drinking, why we're drinking it, where I got it from. Then the specs and stats for the whiskey, what are the components, etc. And then we're going to get to the whiskey. Chapter 2 is available below if you want to skip to the whiskey and don't want to hear about all the other stuff. But I encourage you to stick around. It's not that much time, and it kind of gives you an overview of what the whiskey is. Though I guess some people like to just drink it and see what it is before they go and listen to the specs and stats or read about the whiskey. But I kind of prefer it the other way, to know what I'm getting into, to know what I can expect. But anyway, let's get to it. So yes, I've been in this hotel for a couple of weeks, went home for the weekend, just got back a little bit earlier today, start school again tomorrow. It's pretty intensive training. I don't have a whole lot of time to drink whiskey, which is why I haven't filmed any videos for 2 weeks. Just haven't had the time doing what I had to do for myself and my family. But I went home and I brought back the little book, Chapter 8. And here we're going to review it tonight. Basically, I've been drinking the, I don't know if you can see them over here, I've been drinking the bottom shelf bourbons since I've been stuck in this hotel for a couple of weeks. So it's nice to get something a little higher end and have a bit of that. So, okay, little book, Chapter 8. I've been pretty lucky in the 4 times that I've been to Jim Beam Distillery. Twice they've been happenstance. They happened to release a new product on a day that I happened to visit. So I thought that was pretty great. Earlier last year, they released the Hardin's Creek Frankfurt, and so I got that. On the day it was released, had Fred and Freddie Noe sign it. It was really cool. And then we went last month in May of 24, and they just happened to have the little book, Chapter 8, there at the store. We didn't get there till later. We had an afternoon tour, so we missed the morning when they released the product, and Freddie Noe were there signing bottles. But I bought a bottle, put it on my car, went and ate lunch, and then we did the tour and tasting. It was really nice. On the way out, I was like, hey, Scott, let's go in the store real quick. Maybe they put something out in mid-afternoon, and maybe there's something just waiting for us on the shelf. Fred and Freddie Noe were there again after lunch, signing bottles in the store. So that was pretty cool. Well, I just went over and said hi and shook their hands, and it's my 3rd or 4th time meeting Freddie Noe. So at this point, we're basically best buddies. Hey, Freddie. So that was nice. And you know, my bottles that a bottle that I bought already was signed. So, but I just said hi to those guys. It was great. And then we left. Little book, of course, is a creation by Freddie Noe. And I'm excited because now I have Little Book Chapters 6, 7, and 8. But let's go ahead and pop the top on this bottle, talk about it, and then get to it. All right, Little Book, Chapter 8. How about you? Have you had any of the little books? Have you met Fred and Freddie Noe? Have you ever been to a distillery when they were having a product release? That's one of the reasons I like to go to distilleries, is to see what do they have there that's either difficult to find out in the wild, or what are they releasing that I can get there. It's always a good time. Well, nice. Little Book, Chapter 8. Okay, the little book, like, they're all blends of whiskeys. So let's talk about what is the blend in this batch and then get it. Now, I would read, this is a pretty nice little tag that comes on it, and it has a blend of all the different whiskeys in there. But even with my glasses on, I can't read this. So I have a little script right here with what the components are of the blend. So let's go through that. But that information is right here, and I think that's pretty awesome. So we first of all have an 18 Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, High Rye. Now we know that Jim Beam, of course, Jim Beam has their bourbon. This is a low rye bourbon. So this 18-year-old bourbon that's in this is not the Jim Beam. Jim Beam also has Old Grandad. Now, Old Grandad is a high rye bourbon, 27% rye, I believe. So I do believe that the 18-year-old bourbon that's high rye, that's in Little Book, Chapter 8, is the old granddad. So that's pretty cool. An 18-year-old old granddad. Plus, when Freddie was talking to somebody there at the store, and I overheard him say, now I haven't seen this written down anywhere at all, but I heard Freddie say that the bourbon component of this blend is 20%. And he also said, if you don't like rye, you're not gonna like this whiskey, because all the other whiskeys blended in here are rye. So let's go through them. We have an 11-year-old Kentucky straight rye whiskey. Now, it doesn't say what that whiskey is exactly. I'm assuming that's just the regular Jim Beam rye whiskey, but it's 11 years old, so that's pretty cool. We have a 7-year-old Kentucky straight rye malt whiskey. Could be the Basil Hayden malted rye. There's another 5-year Kentucky straight rye whiskey, and it says Kentucky Family Style Char 4. Now they differentiate that between that and the 11-year-old, so I don't know what the Kentucky Family Style Char 4 rye is. Then it says 5-year Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, Pennsylvania Style Char 1. There's also a 5-year Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, Pennsylvania Family Style Char 4. So let's talk about that. 2 5-year Kentucky or Pennsylvania Style ryes. Now we know that Jim Beam purchased old Overholt Distillery in 1987. They transitioned that rye from that Pennsylvania style rye to the regular Jim Beam rye mash bill. Now they announced a few years ago that they were going to transition the Overholt line to the old Pennsylvania Heritage Rye, the Monongahela Rye, which they did earlier this year. So pretty sure that the 5-year Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, the Pennsylvania Family, the Char 1 and Char 4 are different variations of that Monongahela rye from Old Overholt. And when I was in Kentucky in May, I also got a bottle of the A Overholt, which is, again, that Monongahela rye. And that was pretty good stuff. I recommend if you see one of those bottles, pick it up. And last of all, we have a 4-year Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. This is bottled at 118.2 proof. It doesn't say anywhere on the bottle, on the website, on the label, or anything that is non-chill filter, but typically I think with these premium products from Jim Beam, they are non-chill filtered. I paid $149.99 for this at the distillery. Little books are not easy to find in my area, though they're not impossible. I have found the past few years releases there in the Tampa Bay. And your mileage may vary depending on wherever you are. And guys, I don't even know how the lighting is. I don't know how the sound is gonna be in this room. You know, it's probably very echoey, and if it is, I apologize. It is what it is at this point. But guys, let's get to the whiskey. That's what we're here for. Little Book, Chapter 8. Cheers. Wow. Wow, sharp. Wow, that initial heat. I just want to take a really quick sip just to kind of whet the appetite here before we get to it. Can you hear a little strain in my voice? That initial burst of flavor and heat and rye from the pour. Yeah, a little overpowering. It's not my first sip of whiskey today. I had a little sip of just Jim Beam White Label probably half an hour ago, but that's nothing compared to this. 38 proof less. Anyway, color-wise, it's a nice, just light golden color. Wow, that's a bold nose. Very alive. You know me, I'm a rye fan. And this is a nice peppery nose. Just immediate, bold pepper. It's a nice burst of cinnamon. Definitely a rye component in there. Zested citrus. You can tell it's much more layered and complex. We were at home last night just having a nice pour. Had 3 or 4 different whiskeys that were just at the house, and had a little pour of the High West Double Rye, which is one of my go-to little pours there. And it's nice after I've had already a couple pours, hit that High West Double Rye. It's just a lot simpler of a rye. This is much more complex. You can tell there's layers and textures, if you will, of different components all in there. I think you could just nose on this for a while and keep picking up different scents. Definitely just like peppery, citrus, cinnamon, a hint of oak. Perhaps you would think there'd be more oak with the age of some of the whiskeys in here, but it's not overpoweringly oaky. Very nice. It's a nice intro into the whiskey. Again, here we go. Again, it's just initial heat. Now that malted component to the rye, I do feel like that let some of those floral notes shine through into the whiskey. It's not overpoweringly floral, but it's definitely there. And that's what that malted rye gives you. Definitely some more pepper on there, some cinnamon. I'm not gonna say it's grassy at all. And there is a hint of sweetness as well. Some honey. This is a rye that I'm really enjoying. It's not a weak rye. I don't know if you can see, I have a couple little tears coming out. It's not overpowering, but it's really nice. It's nice and complex. It's a mature whiskey. It has a nice roundness between the pepperiness, the citrus. There is a hint of vanilla that it's leaving me with as well. Now remember, we have the different char levels in those Monongahela ryes. And so I think that's doing different things, and those vanillins can come out of the barrels at different ways. And so it's a nice amount of vanilla just kind of finishing and leaving me there with that. I feel like this is a rye that I've just scratched the surface of. It's not a one-note rye. It's a very complex, round pour, nicely finished. I think my buddy Freddie Noe has done a great job with this rye. I just popped the top, just had my first pour, and I'm super happy with what I've gotten. And I'm really excited to get deeper into this. Mrs. Captain's coming out on Wednesday this week, I think, and she is a rye gal, so I'm excited to have her try this as well and see what her thoughts are. Rye whiskey, man, I am a fan. I mean, High West for a long time has been my jam, but those legacy distilleries, they are bringing it. Remember last year, 2023, Jack Daniel's bringing out the single barrel proof rye, probably the best rye of the year. I thought that was amazing. Every bottle of that I've had has been really great. Jim Beam has been doing a fantastic job with their ryes. When I went there last year, I picked up the Overholt Cask Strength Rye, which is 121 proof of rye goodness. And then I heard that they were gonna come out with the Monongahela rye. And then sure enough, last month I went there, they had the A. Overholt, which was a really nice rye, a nice twist on a familiar friend that we have, but a different flavor. So I really like that Monongahela rye. And then my man, Freddie Noe, dropping this bomb on us, Chapter 8, Path Not Taken. Honestly, I think it's a pretty good time to be a rye guy or gal like Mrs. Captain. Yeah, I think if you see this on the shelf, you should pick it up. And that is all. All right, my guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it. It's free. Subscribe to see more of my content. I do both book and whiskey reviews, but for now, you know what to do. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great. Turn the pages, my friends, and stay thirsty. Cheers. So good.